Good morning. Welcome to the November 2023 post-commission meeting. We're here in wonderful, beautiful East Tennessee this morning. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize a new member to our body, and we'd like to welcome Mayor Jeffries to our board. And Mayor Jeffries, if you want to kind of give a little more background to the board, we'll give you the floor here before we get started on the agenda.
Okay. Well, thank you all for having me, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to wind up serving on this commission. My background is basically in nuclear security and law enforcement. I was a county commissioner in Scott County for 4 years. I'm currently the county mayor in Scott County, and serving that capacity, I started September 1st of 2022, and well, that's just kind of short and to the point, but thank you all for having me, and I look forward to working with you.
Well, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Everybody had a chance to look over the agenda. Any additions or corrections that need to be made to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Senator Jackson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the agenda indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda carries. Administrative matters.
Roll call. Commissioner Beverly. Commissioner Carter.
Here.
Commissioner Cherry.
Here.
Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Halsey. Commissioner Isbell.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Jeffers.
Here.
Commissioner Russell. Commissioner Spangler.
Here.
Commissioner Wagner.
Here.
Commissioner Wright. Vice Chair Faulkner. Chairman Barton.
Here.
You have a quorum.
And we'll go ahead with our disclaimer.
All post commissioners have previously agreed to recuse themselves from any vote that would constitute a conflict of interest. The most obvious of these would include issues that involve their own departments or some that they know personally. Because they've already agreed to this, it should be noted that on routine matters, it will be assumed non-verbally that these commissioners have abstained from that vote. In bigger, more controversial issues that may have a more overt conflict of interest, that may have an appearance of an impropriety, those applicable commissioners will still verbally abstain from those votes.
Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the October meeting? If there's any additions or corrections that need to be made to those minutes, please indicate now. If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to
Have
approve.
a motion to approve by Sheriff Spangler. Your second.
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Wagner. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor of the minutes, approval of the minutes indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Reports for decertifications for the month of November.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. The Metropolitan Nashville Police Department asked to rescind a decertification request for Jack Apgar. That request was approved by the informal committee. With regard to the Tennessee Department of Safety and Eric R. Gordon, the informal committee voted to basically place that into suspended status for 6 months with no suspension of the post commission in that case. The 12th Judicial District Attorney General requested Toby M. Holmes for decertification. That matter was determined to take no action by the informal committee. With regard to Hancock County Sheriff's Office and Dusty Lamb, that was disapproved by the informal committee. And the last one that was present yesterday, Deanna Rickerman of the Knoxville Police Department, the informal committee determined to take no action. In the issues involving Roane County Sheriff's Office, Garrett Bishop, Knox County Sheriff's Office, Bradford Lyon, the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, Nicholas Monroe, the Knoxville Police Department with Joshua Smith, the Chattanooga Police Department with Terrence Smith, and the Chattanooga Police Department with Michael A. Trumbo, and the Englewood Police Department with Matthew Williams were all default decertifications because the parties did not show.
Thank you. Any questions or comments regarding the decertification hearings for the month of November?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Green.
Second.
Have a second by Lieutenant Carter. Any discussion on the matter? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving over to page 3 of the agenda. Appearing before the commission waivers for pre-employment requirements, Cleveland State Law Enforcement Training Academy.
Cleveland State requests a military discharge waiver for Jared Michael Graham. In August of 2014, Mr. Graham was discharged from the United States Army Reserves with an under honorable conditions general discharge due to being unable to attend monthly drills.
Good morning, how are you?
Morning.
If you would, identify yourself for the
Mike
record.
Hodges, Director of Cleveland State Academy.
Good morning, Director Hodges. And you have Mr. Graham with you?
Yep.
Okay. And can you go over with the commission the situation dealing with the discharge from the military?
So early 2014, the mother of my children tragically passed away. So I was left with two little girls at the time and was trying to figure out how I was going to do that by myself. So I did not attend my drills. Two drills that I did not attend, I got together with my command, explained the situation, what happened, and we all came to an agreement that they would discharge me under honorable conditions because I did miss my drills, and they did understand the conditions of why I didn't show up. So that's pretty much the gist of it.
And this was through the Army Reserves.
Yes, sir.
Any questions of the board?
I've just got a couple.
You're recognized, General Terry.
Thank you. Mr. Graham, were you prior enlisted, or did you initially join the Army Reserves and that was your, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what was your military experience prior to the reserves, or was that your first experience?
I stayed in reserves.
So you basically enlisted, you went to boot camp, and went directly
Yes.
to the reserves.
And combat veteran Iraq.
Okay.
I did a tour in Iraq. That was the honorable discharge from the DD-214, and then the under honorable came after.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. And thank you for your service.
Thanks, sir.
Just for the benefit of the commission, if I may, I was a judge advocate active duty for 15 years and had reserves for another 15. And a lot of my reserves activity as a judge advocate involved looking at these packages of Marine Corps reservists who didn't show up for drills. Typically, they were discharged under other than honorable conditions, which is very different. So the fact that he was recommended and was able to finish his service with a general conditions discharge, and then he also had an honorable discharge from his other active duty service when he deployed to Iraq. That says something about his good performance, his character, and the high opinion that his superiors would have made. But with that, I would move that we approve this waiver.
Have a motion for approval.
Second.
Have a second by Senator Jackson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Murray County Sheriff's Office.
Murray County Sheriff's Office requests a military discharge waiver for Amber Elizabeth Bailey, hired September 13, 2023, and August 2006. She was discharged from the United States Army Reserves with an under honorable conditions general discharge due to a pattern of misconduct. And just as a note to the commission, we typically require these folks to attend in person. Our team did not get this person on the agenda last month, so we are allowing her to appear by Zoom, but the department is here in person.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you identify yourself, please?
I'm Lieutenant Brad Collins, Murray County Sheriff's Department.
Can you go over with the commission what you know about this discharge?
Yeah, she had a really close friend get injured, killed, that bothered her a lot in the military. She made it to the MP school, so she went through the MP school, completed it, and but when they got in combat, she had a friend get killed, and she got counseling for it, so she got released eventually under honorable under general, and she's got all the treatment. She's passed that. That was quite a few years ago. She's been working for us for a couple of years, and she's been there really good in corrections since. So that's what I know about the military. I know that she's should be logged in But they said that it was having a loading problem on their end. So she was going to be able to answer more specific questions from you guys if you needed it. So it may take just another little bit, but they said it was trying to load, and I don't know if we need to send out another link or anything that may help them. But any other questions?
Lieutenant, how long has she worked in the jail?
Not sure on the exact date. I can tell you though. They're on they should be on the Zoom now. So if you'd like to ask her directly, she could tell you the exact.
Do you know what her hire date was?
Yes, I can find it for you, because I had thought this meeting was going to be in Nashville, so I would have worked Class A. Sorry about that. It was my mix up. At in-service last week, I sent it to the chief, and he was going to come see you guys in Nashville, and he said, I'd like to do that, but so I give him the packet with all my information, and he said, I'd love to do that, but this is not in Nashville. This is in Gatlinburg where you're at. And I thought, well, so I kind of been in a rush. Even trained on Saturday for my reserve unit. We do active threat training, so a lot of turnaround for me to get this done, and I'm sorry. I tried to plan, but
That's okay, Lieutenant. Do you know this person? Have you had any personal interaction with this?
Oh, yeah. Like if I was going to have somebody do some fingerprints for employment reasons, she'd be my person. When the other two guys that we're going to send to the academy in January, we asked them about who would they want to be a battle buddy. Well, separately, not knowing the other said Amber Bailey. So the sheriff gave her consideration because of her hard work and dedication that she's done for the department and how they look up to her. She's one of our LTOs. She trains on that ship, and she does a good job on her DORs and things like that.
Do you know, Lieutenant, if the department went before TCI and got a waiver for her shoplifting arrest?
I do not. I don't usually board the correction officers. I do their training, but I don't do their boarding process to submit them to TCI right now.
She's on there now.
I see that she's on. Miss Bailey, can you hear me this morning?
Yes, sir, I can.
Can you, how long have you been working at Murray County?
March 9th will be 4 years, sir.
4 years.
Yes, sir.
Did they take you before the Tennessee Corrections Institute to get a waiver for your shoplifting case?
If they did, I was not present, sir.
Was it dismissed? Was it that case dismissed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my apologies. It was just showing still here in the waiver request. Do you feel confident that you don't have any kind of PTSD to worry about?
Absolutely, sir. After my incident, I went through a lot of therapy just to ensure that my mental health was solid.
And you feel solid that you're ready to move out from the jail and go out into patrol?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. Questions of the board?
I'll just,
General Chair, you recognized.
Yes, Ms. Bailey, I guess just looking at what we have in the record before us, you had some issues with for lack of a better term, kind of self-medicating in the military when you were going through some of these issues. What's your pattern for alcohol use now? Do you still drink? Or?
Very infrequent, sir. I think maybe once or twice every 6 months or so at a social gathering. And even then, it's only 1 or 2 drinks.
As far as your life situation, are you married, single, have a family support, that kind of stuff?
I'm married, 4 kids. We own our own home. Very stable. Been married 10 years, sir.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Is this my understanding? This is the same as the last one. Is this it was honorable under general discharge like the last one? General Chair, is that the same?
Yes, we can grant waivers for general conditions discharges. And I think I've explained on other occasions, but there are three different kinds of administrative discharges in the military. There's the honorable discharge that everybody really wants to get. There's an other than honorable discharge that nobody wants to get, and by law that deprives a person of a number of different rights and benefits in the military. In between is the general conditions, or the general discharge under honorable conditions. It's kind of an in-between style of discharge. We can't grant a waiver for that kind of a discharge. And typically, it's a situation where someone has not performed up to the standard for an honorable discharge, but it's not considered as being as negative as other than honorable conditions discharge. So I don't know if that helps, but a lot of times we'll see general conditions discharges where people have engaged in minor types of disciplinary conduct that hasn't arrived at the level of a court martial or even a situation where they receive non-judicial punishment from the commanding officer. It could be counseling entries. It could be some minor instances of non-judicial punishment. In this case, it looks like these were alcohol-related incidents. I would suspect the command probably felt the need to go through the administrative discharge process, but did not want to brand the service member with a more unfavorable style of discharge. So I would move that we grant the waiver in this case.
Have a motion to approve the waiver.
Second.
Have a second, Sheriff Spangler. Any discussion? All in favor of the waiver indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Waiver carries. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'll read my letter next November. Hopefully I'm not back November, but if I do, I'll read it.
More than likely, somebody will be here. Washington County Sheriff's Office.
The Washington County Sheriff's Office requests a military discharge waiver from Matthew Hunter Harsick, hired September 11, 2023. So in May of 2022, is discharged from the U.S. Army with an under honorable conditions general discharge with a separation reason of misconduct, serious offense for refusing a COVID-19 vaccination.
I don't even want to put you through this, and I'm going to make a motion to approve the waiver. Any discussion? Chair makes a motion, Commissioner Wagner second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good luck. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Waiver to attend another academy, Somerville Police Department.
Somerville Police Department requesting a waiver to change academies for Christopher Paul Brown, hired October 9th, 2023. In November 2009, Mr. Brown attended the Memphis Police Department Training Academy, but did not complete due to a family medical leave. Somerville Police Department is requesting the waiver so that he may attend the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy.
Somerville Police Department are here. Attends. Can't find
They
them.
just tried to get on and I think they're having problems with that.
Okay, I tell you, we'll Ms. Cooper, if you would watch for them, and if they pop back up, we'll come back to them. And we'll give them a few minutes to come on.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh.
attend another.
Oh,
Sorry, I thought it started at 10:30.
hello, Commissioner Russell. If the recorder would make a note that Commissioner Russell is now joining us, if you could add him to the record, please. It's good to see him this morning.
Good seeing y'all.
And his Eastern time got confused and applied, I'm sure, somewhere over the time zone. Moving on to page 4, we will go into the waivers of basic training and specialized substitutions for in-service training. You will see that posters reviewed approximately 23 folks for transition school. Does anybody have any questions about the names and departments of record on page 4 and on page 5? If there's not any conflicts or questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve by General Cherry.
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Wagner. Any discussion? Hearing none, all names contained in pages 4 and 5 of the agenda indicate by saying aye to approve. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Commissioner, abstain.
Well, you were abstaining. Chief Isbell's going to abstain. There's a name there that,
Yes, sir.
for an agency that he needs to, one abstention. Moving on to page 6 on administrative waivers, we have none. Our waivers of the in-service, none. Waivers of 6-month rule, Campbell County Sheriff's Office.
Campbell County Sheriff's Office is requesting a 6-month waiver for Corey Isaiah Roundtree, hired July 24th, 2023. Mr. Roundtree was scheduled to attend Toledo in January of 24, but is unable to begin training due to an injury. He is scheduled to begin training with Toledo in April of 2024.
Chair will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Green. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Clarksville Police Department.
Clarksville Police Department requests 2 6-month waivers for Jordan Elizabeth Bunting, hired May 22nd, 2023. In July of 2023, Ms. Bunting attended the Walter State Law Enforcement Training Academy, but was unable to complete training due to pregnancy. She is scheduled to re-attend training once medically cleared in the summer of 24.
Chair will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Russell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Oak Ridge Police Department.
Oak Ridge Police Department requests a 6-month waiver for Brian Keith Arrington, hired June 5th, 2023. Mr. Arrington has been unable to begin training due to an injury. Mr. Arrington is scheduled to attend the Walter State Law Enforcement Training Academy in January of 24.
Does anybody have any questions or concerns? Motion to approve. Have a motion to approve by Sheriff Spangler,
Second.
second by Commissioner Russell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving over to page 7. Waivers of 8-month rule, none. No medical waivers. And I want to make a note, in the last several meetings, I'm very impressed that, when I first came on this board, we used to have lots of monthly medical waivers, and whatever the agencies are doing, it seems that things are flowing very well. I may have just changed ourselves. Waivers of military leave, none. I have a suspicion that will start increasing. Page 8, applications for training officer.
Post investigators are reviewed and approved 3 applications for training officer that meet the criteria for approval.
Okay,
Motion to approve.
have a motion to approve. Any discussion? Or second? Second by Commissioner Wagner. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those 3 agencies and officers will be approved on page 8. Is Somerville up now?
Yes.
Okay, if we will go back to, in our agenda, I think we're on page 3. Somerville Police Department. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, can you identify yourself for the board, please?
My name is Harlan Key. I'm the Assistant Chief of Police with the Somerville Police Department in Fayette County, Tennessee.
Thank you. Can you go over Mr. Brown's request for attending another academy and kind of tell the board what happened, the reason he needs to change academies, please?
Yes, sir. Officer Brown, Christopher Brown, is here with me at the meeting also. He was going through the Memphis PD Academy back in 2009. But in the middle of him going through the academy, he had a family emergency and had to pull out of the academy. He wasn't able to go back at the time, but he is willing to go back through the academy, and that's what we're requesting this waiver for from his previous schooling. That when he was with Memphis PD, that we waive it and go through Toledo if possible.
Okay.
Mr. Brown's here if he'd like to explain his reason for medical leave, if you would like to speak with him.
Well, that'll be absolutely fine, sir. Put him on.
Yes, sir. Here he is.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Just fine. Are you Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. Do you think you got everything straightened out now and you may be able to attend an academy in the future?
Yes, sir. The reason that I had to withdraw at the time was we were pregnant with our firstborn and had a lot of medical issues with my wife's pregnancy. At that time, I withdrew so that I could be there for her for that. He's now 14 years old. We have 2 other kids, and we are done having children. So we are.
Well, you never know these days. But, well, congratulations. I'm glad all that's worked out. And anybody have any questions of this?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Here, second. Second, Commissioner Jackson. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. What I meant by you never know these days is just because you got 114 doesn't mean you can't have another one.
Oh, no, sir. I've got 2 other ones that are younger than that. So I'm good.
All right. All right. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to page 9.
Applications for certified instructor. Our investigators have reviewed and approved 15 applications for certified instructor. You'll see the names on page 9. Of those, you'll see 3 names at the bottom that have a 1 year, or have 1 year rather, to get the instructor development completed.
Okay. Any questions or comments of the attached names and agencies on page 9 for applications for certified instructor?
I will need to abstain because I know the one from Oneida Police Department.
Okay, have 1 abstention, a second abstention,
Mr. Chairman, also.
third abstention. All those that are left on the board that can vote.
Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Russell. Motion was made by Sheriff Spangler, second by Commissioner Russell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
With 3 abstentions. All right. Moving on to page 10, curriculum and test.
Our investigators reviewed and approved 103 in-service and specialized training classes, and they are submitting those for the approval of the board.
Chair will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Russell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Looks like we do not have any old business. Moving on to new business for discussion, Petersburg Police Department. Is anybody here from Petersburg? No. Petersburg Police Department, Mark Anthony Gray, hired December 6, 2022. However, Post did not receive the required paperwork until October 17th, 23. Director Bello, what's the standing now with this officer? And
We have all his paperwork and his case file is up to date.
everything's good to go.
Everything's good to go.
Chair, make a motion to approve the waiver. I guess this would be a waiver for discussion. Is that what they're asking for?
Well, they just have to report to the board that.
They reported to the board, okay. But everything's in good standing, so.
Yes, sir.
I will make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Wagner. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We are requesting at Toledo for the commission to approve a waiver of Rule 1110.07.03B, which limits maximum class size to 75 cadets. We are requesting up to 165 cadets. We do have room for that. The increase would represent an 18% addition to the overall number of cadets that we could admit to the Law Enforcement Training Academy. But it is a 25 over where we currently have a waiver for this year at 140. At present, we are not planning to, in the first couple of classes, to admit 165, but we would like to kind of mull over internally the possibility of adding a 5th rotating activity week at Toledo, which, right now our class size is 140, and at 4 groups, which is what we currently do, defensive tactics, driving, investigations, and firearms, our current group size is 35. if we were able to find a way to get a fifth rotating week in there and increase to 165, we would actually go down by 2 cadets out of those groups. So the group size would actually get smaller for us, and that's assuming that nobody drops out. But in the interim, and while we work through trying to figure out if we can add that fifth activity week, we're currently losing between 13% to 22% of the cadets that enroll at the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy between the orientation day when they arrive and the end of week 1. And so that represents a pretty decent number when you consider that those are seats that could have been filled by other people and could have been on the streets 12 weeks later, but weren't because there was no room on the roster. And so currently today, for example, our wait list is 104, and we could probably admit another 15 people into the class because we're moving our orientation up to week 9. And so that's coming up in 2 weeks, and then we have a break until mid-January. And so we tend to lose when we have these breaks between the June class and the July class, and between the December class, or the class that graduates in December, and the class that starts in January. We tend to lose more there. So, we have the potential, if we can make this happen, to reduce our wait list by, 20 to 30%. And I think that would make a real impact right now. The academies across the state, I won't speak for other academies, but I do know there's wait lists elsewhere. But, we've got one right now that's at 104, and we'd like to try to get as many police officers out there on the streets as we can. But I'll be more than happy to field any questions if anybody has any.
Director, I've got concerns with this, and we wavered, I think, from 75 up to 140.
Yes, sir.
And I was real reluctant to do that. I understand what you're saying. I understand the backlog. We all understand the backlog that send people to Toledo, but I worry about the quote unquote student teacher ratio. Concerned about housing issues. I'm concerned about, you're talking about that fifth rotation, and I worry about, those, we're having more and more students or cadets that come into law enforcement that need more special requirements and time to be spent with them, whether it's driving or shooting. I've just had to send one back to you from my agency for the week of firearms because they just were not proficient in firearms, and they got to come back, and that took your staff special time to deal with that person and get them qualified. And I feel like with 25 more people, that's another run through that kitchen, that your kitchen is still the size that it is in 1966. And I just feel like banking on that a percentage of people are going to drop out is not a reason to increase. I do not want to water down our instructing or our ability to properly train these people. I'd rather have a few empty seats and then bank on that there's going to be a few empty seats, because there's going to be that one time in the next 3 or 4 years until the new academy is built, but you're going to have all 165 of those people, and then you're going to be going, where are we going to put them? And I just don't think you need to push out that part. That's my personal opinion as a sheriff and a user of your business up there. But I will welcome any other comments from the commission on this.
Let me just add, as far as being a former academy director, I wouldn't want to wear my staff out by adding that much more. And if you keep it going and they have no time to break, then you're going to lose your instructors, and I certainly don't want to see that. But I'm like the chair. I understand where you're trying to come from, trying to get more people in there, but don't kill your staff.
Yes, sir, Sheriff. And to that point, when we talk about, we're not, initially, as we consider this fifth activity week, we're not going to admit 165 in the first 2 classes. It may not happen at all if we get into this and figure out that we can't do this in a way that protects our staff as well. If we were going to add a fifth activity week, we would have to figure a way to get that staffed. So there are concerns that we're looking at in that regard. And I certainly understand where you're coming from right now, because our team works, they've got a lot of comp time that they build up during a basic training class. To the student-teacher ratio in activity weeks, if we were able to figure out how to do a fifth activity week, that number would go down. And I know we run the risk that if you admit 165 people, that 165 people would be there at the end of week one, but statistically, that just, it doesn't happen. We lose this past year anywhere between 13 and 22%. But, I appreciate those comments and certainly, take those to heart. Chairman.
Yeah, and we're just, I think we're pushing the envelope. And I think if you're trying to figure out a way to get those extra rotations, well, come back to us when you figure that out. And we can always, this board can, if there needs to be, an emergency meeting sometime, if there's just an overabundance of people coming, right now you're going to have an onslaught of cadets, agencies, because the tuition's free. So yes, it's going to be filled up. And I appreciate personally everything that you have done to accommodate the sheriffs and the police chiefs of this state under your tenure of getting their folks into the academy. But we also have to understand that this thing was originally set up for 75 people, and we're pushing the envelope, and it's the same building. It's the same little kitchen. It's the same little bathrooms. It's the same little everything. And that's the reason you're getting a new academy. And I just don't want to push the envelope until you've gone out to Cockrell Bean. And I agree with Sheriff Spangler. I live with a school teacher. It's the same kind of principle. And that's just 25. That's 25 more people that staff is going to have to keep up with. That's 25 more people, all the administrative things. That's 25 more people you're going to have, the state's going to spend money on for uniforms. And I think right now, just kind of keep her on cruise control.
I have some thoughts, which is rare, I know. But when we go out to the new facility, are we asking for more staff? I hope we are.
Well, that conversation has not been had at this time.
But it will be, hopefully, because if we have 165 people, 175, whatever the number comes for the new academy, and we have the new facilities, I don't know what, maybe you know what the design is.
I mean, as far as the design is concerned, when we discussed with the architects, we discussed starting a 80 to 100 person cadet class on a monthly basis at Toledo. And I think there will have to be discussions in order to make that happen. As it currently stands, we have the team that can do 4 basic classes a year right now.
I guess what I'm saying is the dormitory space at the new facility, is it going to accommodate 165? Or they're going to finish one, start another one, or are you going to have them rolling through?
So when we looked at the capacity of that facility, we plan to start those classes on top of each other. So you would have an increase of the total number of people that we currently have on campus. You would have an increase over that.
One class would be week 4, the other class week 1.
Sure. And so we would have, we have the space built into the dormitory there to be able to have a much greater increase in capacity.
But we got the same number of staff. And even before you came on, when Director Grisham was here, we were saying the same thing. You need more staff. If there's any plans to add more staff, this is what I'm saying. So you don't see a need for it?
No, I mean, those are, and so I really can't speak to discussions that haven't been had yet. And that would get into budgeting and policy and things of that nature. But, I think those are conversations that we're going to have internally, certainly. And look, because I mean, right now we have the team in place to be able to conduct 4 basic training classes a year in 12 weeks apiece. So
I have no doubt that the staff that we have at the academy can handle what is needed. It's just the amount of stress we're going to put them under. It's the amount of stress we're going to put the kitchen under. For any of you ever been down there, that bothers me worse than anything at the academy. It's not really so much about potentially losing one trip around the track. It's just when you go down there to that kitchen, I mean, the staff eats in the same kitchen as the cadets. There's no room. And they're having to run them through there. I mean, basically, you're eating on the run. And a lot of these folks have come out of the Marine Corps and the Army. They've already been through that lifestyle. And they're like, we've had more time to eat in the field and at Camp Lejeune than we did at Toledo. And yes, sir.
So how many people can you house right now in the dorms?
So right now, we're currently housing the 140 that we admit, and we have, I don't have the specific number of empty rooms that we have, but we have plenty of room capacity to be able to house up to 165. And I understand the concerns about the kitchen too, Sheriff. It's, obviously we have a kitchen that's made for, to seat 70 people. But the manner in which we run the cadets through and run is probably not a great word, because there's no running allowed in the chow hall. But, they are able to eat and be done with time to spare before class starts back, for example, in the morning or in the afternoon for lunch.
Does the fire marshal's office put a number of people that you can have in the building?
I'm not sure what our maximum occupancy is. What we would essentially do if we did wind up, going to 165 is, instead of housing 20 plus specialized students in that dormitory, they would move to the other side. We would basically move them elsewhere.
I mean, I'd like to see what the fire marshal would think in case there's an emergency. They have to exit the building in case of a fire or whatnot before I can vote for it.
That is a top concern. And again, we've got 140 beds. We approved you some time ago for 140. As my opinion, I'm just one vote. I just don't think we need to push that envelope. I would like to see what we could do to help retain those percentages of those that are going to leave. But there's folks that on Sunday night get to the door and turn around and leave. We can't help that. That's just the way it's going to be from here on out. It sounds like. But I just think we're pushing the envelope here, and until we can get facilities and staff and things going like they need to at the new facility. And I would start having those conversations now, Director. Us sheriffs have to deal with jails all the time, and that's the biggest thing we hear. Oh, we can get jails built, but they get closed off because we don't have staff to open them up. And if we're looking at that out at Maleta in the future, you're going to have a great big old building and lots of stuff and not the staff to handle it. The state needs to be budgeting for that.
And I can see your concern. I mean, on both ends. And, as far as the turnover rate that you have in that first week, the amount of pressure that you're putting on, it sounds like you're putting about the right amount of pressure on, because right now people are getting a culture shock, and they need to understand that stress, because they're going to have that stress in the field. So not everything's going to be a bed of roses. And, and it's kind of one of those things, and maybe somewhere down the line when those folks can, get whatever it is internally worked out, maybe they'll come back at a later date and give it another shot, or maybe they'll find out that occupation wasn't for them. And just like Sheriff Parton wound up saying, I mean, it's definitely one of those things you don't want to exhaust your folks there, as well as Sheriff Spangler. And definitely the size, kind of where are you at on the information, kind of like, with the fire marshals there, and definitely you'll need more instructors. I mean, that there's just no doubt you will. And speaking from my time at Toledo, I know just for the amount of specialized schools there with people there too, you was always in the hustle to figure out which side of the building you need to run to get hot water for a shower. It's kind of like, okay, well, this end's kind of cold. If you hurry up right there, you can get the other end. Hey, there's warm water there waiting on you. So hopefully that might be something, if it doesn't get done now, maybe when the new facility kind of opens up and have all those answers there, it might wind up opening up being better for you. But as far as that goes, speaking as far as Scott County goes, we've had some officers wind up leaving wasn't their cup of tea. There wind up being some that wind up failing their exams. Good job. All right. I mean, it's one of those things. I won't wind up, mincing words with that. I mean, if there's a standard that is in place and academically or something, they don't meet it, they don't meet it. And, physically. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things. I mean, you're putting out on the road who needs to be out on the road. And, and I'm also speaking that from personal experience. So.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and also, if we've only got 140 beds and we're approving 165, anything over 140 kind of going to put pressure on you. Pressure them out or get an air mattress.
I mean, we have empty beds right now at 140 in the dormitories.
Well, like I said, I see the philosophy behind it of trying to fill those gaps and maximizing your numbers. I totally get that. I'm all about logistics, and if I'm going to backhaul something, I don't want to haul air. I want to load. But in this case, I just feel we need to kind of leave it where it's at and move from there. Any other discussion?
I guess.
You're recognized, Chief.
Thank you. Been in some heated meetings, as I'm sure some of you have, in regards to trying to get recruits into the academy. And I know that in talking with a few chiefs, to have more opportunities to put people in there, they're in favor of. But there's some valid things that have been raised here this morning. But I agree on the occupancy issue. Is that something that we could get a report back on before we make the decision to deny this request? And of course, I know that would be up to the full commission. I think that's a valid concern, and it's just one more piece to the puzzle. If there's anyone that I think some of you are obviously are going to vote no on this, regardless, and that's perfectly fine. And I'm kind of in the in between zone right now, and would like to have that information. Will it accommodate those folks? That may not be agreeable with everybody. I'm just throwing it out there.
And Director, I've got a question, because when I was running training programs similar, where you had people drop out at the last minute, not show up on before class starts on Sunday or Monday, you said you had a waiting list. Do you have a procedure in place where you could call people up that are on that waiting list and say, I know you've been waiting for a while, we can get that person in if he can get here by Monday or Tuesday?
So the orientation is when everybody shows up. And so typically we have a few that don't show up to orientation. Sometimes we have extras that show up to orientation that weren't on the list. They were somehow approved, but thought they were in that class. But once they step through the door at orientation and orientation starts, that's the first 4 to 8 hours of the academy. So once they are there, they're enrolled. And so we cannot, after orientation, enroll somebody into the class to be there on Sunday at check-in 3 weeks later, because they missed the first 4 to 8 hours of the academy.
Okay.
Just a question, Commissioner Cherry. I was following along with your presentation, and certainly recognizing, the airlines typically overbook, and then I've been in that situation where I show up and I'm one of the seats that was overbooked, and I have to either go home or maybe they'll pay me extra to not take the flight. I guess that's kind of what you're looking at here, but is it something that would be even conceivable to invite an overload of students to that orientation, recognizing the possibility that half a dozen or maybe more will drop out right after the orientation? Is that something that typically might happen? Is that a reasonable?
We could certainly investigate that, and we have to discuss that internally. And really, for us, one of the I guess key reasons that we have chosen not to overbook at orientation is because, or have alternates on standby at orientation, is because at that point they're enrolled at Toledo. So if they wanted to go to Walter State 2 months down the road, or Cleveland or somewhere else, it would require them to come before the post commission to get a waiver to change academies. So
it's more of an administrative issue, but
right,
when you can't see a way to get around.
and maybe for some departments, especially some of the more financially strapped departments too, that could be 2 trips to Nashville for orientation as well. So, I mean, but it's something we'll certainly have to take, obviously have to take a look at as well. So,
How consistent is that dropout rate from the past year? I mean, is it something you can give us some specific statistics about?
So I'm just in front of me. I have I have my sticky notes with the actual numbers back at the office. But last year, in all 4 classes, including the one that's currently in place, is between 13 to 22%. So
13, 22% of 140, we're talking about probably about at least a couple dozen, maybe 20 people that are dropping out in that first week or so.
Well, 10% would be 14.
So yes.
And how many of those drop out that first, or I don't know if you can answer this, but how many drop out that first day of orientation? They sit through the first few hours and say, hey, wait a minute, this is something I want to do.
So I don't have that number specifically, but just speaking anecdotally, that's typically a smaller number. That may just be a couple, 2 or 3. We expect there to be probably a pretty significant drop off between orientation 2 weeks from now and the start of the academy in mid-January, early to mid-January. So because they're going to have a lot of time to sit there and think, about push-ups and air squats and running and all of those things. So a lot of time to mull that over in their mind.
Anybody else? Again, I get the philosophy behind it, but it was tough to push out that permission to do 140 for me. Anyway, if nothing else, I'll entertain somebody's motion. And if somebody's gonna give a motion, I will. I'm making a motion to deny and leave it at the current 140.
I'm gonna have to second.
Sheriff Spangler seconds. More discussion.
Can they wait on the report from the fire marshal?
Or we can take no action on it.
The other thing I heard said was, I think the director said that you were trying to develop this 5th rotation or whatever, but you haven't actually got that yet. How long would it take you to get that?
I mean, those are discussions that we've had at a very high level at this point.
I guess what I'm saying, I'd
plans on paper.
be more comfortable with voting for it if I knew what the rest of us was.
How we're in discussion mode, but if you're talking about bringing on a 5th class director, how that's going to be, if you're trying to do it at those facilities in which you're at right now, I just don't know how you're going to do it.
A 5th activity week. So we would look at
activity week.
What we want to do is figure out what parts currently in the academy we can move around that could rotate through an activity week. Because we currently platoon, our 140 are in 4 groups of about 35. Well, I mean, it starts out at 35. But
Well, you're going to lose a rotation. You're going to lose a rotation on the track, and you're going to lose a rotation on firearms.
No, sir. We would retain firearms. If we were able to add a 5th activity week, we would still have a firearms week. We would have a DT week, a driving week, and the investigations week. We would figure out what in the academy we could put that maybe we needed smaller group sizes, and then have a 5th activity week within those 12. So it's the same curriculum, but just deciding what we could put in another one of those that could add a 5th platoon, for example. So it's not
Instead of classroom, you're talking about activities.
correct. Yes, sir.
I'm looking at it just an overall logistical side of, I have to look at population and beds, however they do internal stuff is how they do internal stuff. But I'm really looking at beds and what that aging facility can, the strain it can take and kitchen can take and the new add-ons. Yes, sir.
Is it every class that you have a dropout rate of 10 to 20%.
Yes, sir.
What if you
That's
had,
for the past year.
what if you had enough that would be, or if bring in extras for the first orientation and to fill the slots that would drop out, if it's, you know that there probably could be 12, 14 people that are going to drop out, bringing in extras, and understanding that these people that are, if not enough drop out, you will come back to the next class or something like that. To try to help at least feel what the loss is on those classes now. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Sure, and I think that's similar to what the issue that was, or the suggestion that was just made. And I mean, that's something we can certainly look at. I think we would want to make it clear to the departments that, you know, if you show up as an alternate, you are enrolled, and that you would have to wait until the next class. And I think that's probably something we can look at and work through.
That would at least fill that, hopefully 15% or so, 20%. I don't know, some of the chiefs and sheriffs might feel different, but, you know, I would think going to orientation for 4 hours, have to drive to Nashville unless you're from Upper East Tennessee or Memphis, wouldn't be that bad. Problem with understanding that you're basically enrolled in the next class. You said something earlier about you were enrolled, if you go to orientation, then you're enrolled in school, so they don't go home after that, what you're saying.
They do go home after orientation, but the orientation that occurs usually, you know,
is it built part of the built-in hours?
It's part of the 400. It's 4 to 8 of the 488 hours.
But it doesn't matter that they go to the next class or the next class after that, they're still going to be enrolled. And only if they fail to go to Toledo,
correct,
would they have to come for a waiver.
Correct.
So
I just
same Central Jackson.
I just don't want to start. We're going to make this thing's going to snowball.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to abstain because I see both sides of it. I think there's good points on both sides, both on the student-teacher ratio and the need to have dropout, because I've seen both sides.
How many specialized schools have we got going on now, on the average?
I would have to look that up.
I mean, that takes, I mean, does that not kind of take away from our specialized schools a little bit?
I mean, we have another facility that's on the Clover Bottom property that we have a dormitory for that we utilize for specialized training.
But I mean, the staff, I mean, we have post instructors that are for post staff that's doing instructor work at the academy, crossing back and forth, correct?
We have a team of instructors that are there that handle transition school. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Would we be better off to basically table the issue until more information can be gathered on what you want to do for the activity week? And then we can know what the population going to have. We can have information on the fire marshal, you know, as far as the building goes and everything. And then also what your budget request will be to, you know, the General Assembly there for additional instructors and so on and so forth.
That one may not be as quickly forthcoming. I'd have to go through a few different levels for that. But just, I mean, for what it's worth, and for this commission, I mean, I'm amenable to the motion is made, which, you know, does not impact our ability to move forward at 140. If I understood your motion correctly, Chairman.
Whatever I think is a 140. What we previously approved, and that's where I'm at. I'm at leaving it alone, leaving it where it's at. That was my motion, leaving it at 140.
What you're looking for is flexibility
Yes,
down the road. We got the new academy coming.
If we do that, Commissioner, we're banking on people being turned away. We're banking on, we're hedging that 25 people
drop out,
are going to drop out.
Yeah,
That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying.
I think my issue was
When you've only got 140 beds.
when you go from 140 to 165, that's 25 more students. I don't know what the ratio is now per student.
We would not. No, I'm sorry.
But it's got to be pretty high.
We would not admit, like I said, 165 until we determine even if that fifth activity.
Let's not approve this until you've got your plan of action complete. We're getting the cart before the horse.
Yes.
period. I don't like that. At all. I mean, just don't. I mean, there's general services issues, there's fire marshal issues, there's vet issues, and I get it. The sheriffs and the police chiefs, you know, they want their people trained, but it's, as us, we've got to make sure that that quality of training is there. And I want those instructors not to be overrun, overworked, and that if we start losing people at that academy because of stress, you're gonna have a hard time replacing them. It's just like if I lose deputy sheriffs, I have a hard time replacing them. And there's no sense in rocking the apple cart here. And I've got to take that stance. And that's I can't stress it enough. Anyway, is there an additional motion? I'll go back over my motions to leave it exactly where it's at the 140 approval. And Chairman or Sheriff Spangler was the second on that. Any more discussion on that motion?
So this is to deny the request. We're not tabling it to get more information. Your motion is
more information. In my opinion, more information can come at any meeting, anytime.
Okay.
I mean, we meet once a month, and if something comes up with more information, it can be added to the agenda, and we'll address it. I'm not running from this. I'm just saying leave it alone until we get more information or there's more beds built back down there and other stuff. So anything else? Won't call for the vote. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention. Motion carries. Okay. Public comments.
I don't think we had anybody sign up. Good.
I think so.
Nothing else? Anybody else have anything? Legal? Good.
I appreciate the 2024 calendar being added to iPads. Thank you.
Yeah, so we went ahead and started planning for next year. We've got the TSEP and TSA dates on there already. So that way we're not behind and scheduling some things for the next calendar year. If something were to come up, we can always address it at a meeting at earliest convenience. We will plan on having some dedicated formal hearing dates in April and October. Those should be on the calendar. If you have any questions, just reach out to us and we'll just plan on the third Thursday and Friday of the month like we always do, unless something else pops up. So don't forget, next month, busy month, we'll have a formal hearing Thursday morning. We'll have a regular informal Thursday afternoon. We'll have a post-commission meeting Friday morning, and then we'll have a rulemaking hearing following the Friday morning meeting as well. So,
What are those?
Just a correction on the, not a rulemaking hearing, but just essentially just sort of to introduce, propose changes. Yeah, thank you. Just semantics.
Can those be sent out to the commissioners so we can be looking at them? I mean, we get the red lines from the legislature. I don't know what these would be any different.
They'd be the same. That was the last version I sent you, maybe.
Do y'all mind emailing that out to us so that we can be looking at it?
You would see them in the meeting anyway.
And I want to go over them with my fellow sheriffs. I need to get their side of their, I need to hear what they've got to say about it. Anything else? If not, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All agree, get up late.
if you have expense reports or anything like that, you can either leave them on the table or bring them to me and I'll take